Good morning. I'm Jeremy Van Loo, and it's time for the Coach's Corner Football Show on 93.7 FM The Mix and online at 937themix.com. With me in the studio today, by the way, Nathan, he wanted to be here, but duty calls, and so I'm filling in for him today. In the studio with us is Coach Jon Reutebuch and Riley Price. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So let's talk some football last night here at Warrior Field. Let's talk about the first half. Of course, you guys are experts. I think I told you before I hit the record button here that we were teaching some new students how to run the broadcast last night. So I did pay attention, but I didn't pay attention. So we're going to kind of leave most of this up to you. So Riley, kick it off, brother.
Last night was a special game. I mean, you had two teams going together who have played every single year since 1969, and you had the Pee Wee guys there. It just adds some specialness in the air. How did that, if at all, go into the preparation, not in the week, but necessarily in that game going forward?
Well, it was blackout night, and we had a ton of fans outfitted in their blackout shirts, so that was really cool to see the support. And it's also an NLC game, our second NLC game of the season. So going into this game, we had the opportunity to go 2-0 in the NLC, something that hasn't been done in like 20 years. To go 2-0 in the NLC, and so that was one of our motivators. We knew that it was going to be a busy night. Cross country had their senior recognition. The band was performing, and as you mentioned, the Pee Wee program, the LYC, and I think our middle school teams were all there being recognized. So we knew we were going to have a good crowd. We were at home after being on the road for a couple games, and we were looking forward to it. And so I think the kids were ready. I think they were fired up and ready to go, as evidence how the game started.
I don't know about you, Coach Reutebuch, but I was in for the free food last night because Mr. Walmer decided to cook us some hamburgers and hot dogs. I don't know if you partaked. But...
No, I didn't get a chance to get that, but that's awesome to hear.
Yeah, it was good stuff. So it was a staff little tailgate party. So anyways.
That is pretty awesome.
Back to the real news that everybody cares about.
You mentioned such a great start, and man, let me tell you, Nate and I were talking in the booth prior to the game, talking about what we needed to do to prove that we're here to play. And I think that defensive stop, first drive for Plymouth, fumble, offense gets the ball, drives down the field, gets that touchdown. How does that make you feel?
Yeah, I mean, you can't script it any better. I mean, they were driving the football. We knew their offense was going to be pretty good because in watching film against Columbia City and Warsaw, two quality football programs, teams that are going to be in the hunt this year for conference and sectional titles. They were moving the ball on them. Matter of fact, against Warsaw, they drove right down the field and scored right off the bat, and they had no problems moving the football around. So we knew their offense was very capable, and to cause a fumble after them moving the ball a little bit down the field was huge. And we didn't just get a fumble; we took advantage of it, and we drove right down the field and scored a touchdown in, I don't know, about 3 plays, and we were up on the board and kicked the extra point, and it's 7-0 right off the bat. So we loved how it started.
Yeah, it's just a giant confidence boost. Going from there, Plymouth goes on to attempt a fourth down, doesn't get it. Defense holds the stand strong. Go into that and how that transitioned into the offense.
Well, I don't know what was going on with Plymouth as far as the punt team. I don't know if they had an injury to a long snapper or they just decided, you know what, we're going to go for it every single time on fourth down.
They did go for it a lot.
It was 4th and 10, and the ball was at their own 45, which most guys going to punt it away and try to pin a team deep, and they went for it, and we got the stop. So that was huge because we're getting the ball in the 45, 46, I think it was, which is great field position. We're back in business, and we just marched it down in 3 plays. And so, again, the start of the game is going exactly how we want it to, and that second drive, we're at I think the 37 plus 37, just outside the red zone, and we have a 3rd and 1 and a 4th and 1, and we are unable to convert on those 2 plays. And that was a missed opportunity. That was one of several missed opportunities in the game that, you look back and go, man, if we could have produced something out of that, it might be a little bit different. And so, again, that's something that's plagued us all season. We've had opportunities to take advantage, and that would have been huge to go up 14-0 or 10-0 that fast after the first 2 drives. And so, again, that was a little bit of a missed opportunity.
Yeah, you've talked about before how the line is a little different this year than it has been in years past, a little smaller, a little quicker. But going into the rushing game last night, that didn't stop the rush. I mean, both Kelly brothers had great numbers. Tinky had just an incredible game throughout the entire game. How does that go into just the offensive mindset to be able to move the ball like that?
Well, first of all, that's our number one goal. We got to be able to run the football, and we've have been able to do that. First 2 games, not as much as we would have liked, but against Goshen, it definitely the running game really came alive. And offensive line, as it takes a while for them to gel together. And even last night, we had C.J. Peschel was out, and so Ethan Rodriguez had to step in, and you got to change. And with our movement on our line, how they pull and move, that makes a huge difference as well. And unfortunately, I want to say something. Ethan Rodriguez, hopefully a quick recovery for him. He was injured last night, and I think he's probably done for the season. But
that's a heartbreaker.
There's a kid that just gives you everything he's got. Not the biggest dude in the world, but he's not going to back down from anybody. And a great kid, great family. So our prayers go out to him. Last night, I think by Coach O's stats, we had 303 yards rushing, somewhere around 300 yards rushing, which is huge.
Wow.
Tinky had 14 carries for 168 yards and a touchdown, and then 3 receptions for 31 more yards. So he was definitely our workhorse. He's our guy, and he didn't disappoint at all. Barrett Kelly had the same number of carries for 78 yards. Brandon Kelly had some big runs, and so being able to run the football is huge because that allows you to do whatever you want to. You can pass when you want to, not when you have to. And so that's what we want from our offense, and so that was big. That was big. So, we turn over the ball on downs, and then Plymouth takes the ball back and drives it a little bit. And again, 4th down, 4th and 4, I believe it was, and they went for it, and we again rose up and stopped them, which is huge. Huge.
Massive.
And then we go on our 3rd drive, and we drive it right down the field, just like you script it. And we get down 3rd down, and we got our tight end wide open in the end zone, and we just missed him. I mean, I probably could have lobbed it up with my left hand and completed that pass, but we got a little bit excited, and we overthrew him, and so we had to settle for a field goal, which that's our first made field goal of the season, and Reed Reidenbach punched it through, and we're up 10-0. So out of the first 3 drives, 2 of them were scoring. So, again, that's pretty good efficiency, although, again, I go back to another missed opportunity. We should have scored a touchdown there, 14-0. But we're not feeling bad about anything. We're feeling pretty good.
Yeah, especially with that missed pass to the end zone to Blair. He was wide open just off the fingertips. The good thing about that, though, it hopefully will be easy to fix. I mean, settle the feet a little bit to be able to lower that pass by Shoemaker going forward and be able to make some good progress.
Yes. There are times when that is – you're hitting all the touch passes, and there's times when they're just off the fingertips, and we had a couple of those last night.
Yeah.
Bontrager had one late in the game, right down the middle, just off the fingertips that would have given us the lead again. So
I think one of the comments, though, you guys made, because I think there's another one later in the game like that, that there wasn't a time when Shoemaker didn't have somebody right in his face after he threw that ball, too.
Yeah, he had they threw a lot of blitzes, and we do a lot of play action, and so a lot of that involves him faking, which gives him more time, and he had to escape There was one time where I swear he had to have eyes in the back of his head because he just moved right when he was going to get clocked and made the play. So he played pretty well overall. He hit some plays. You always can go back in hindsight and look at the film and say, we had this guy wide open. Why did we throw it here? But, I think he played overall pretty well. We got to do a better job of protecting him a little bit. And I don't know. I think that he played well enough that we could have won.
Oh, most definitely. I mean, just talking to the other guys in the booth, the other radio guys from the opposite side, I mean, they were making the comparison to Patrick Mahomes being able to get out of the pocket and still be able to make an accurate throw down the field. So he's really shows some promise coming in for the next few games and the future of this program.
Yeah, he's progressing. Every game, every experience is going to help him. So we're up 10-0, and Plymouth gets the ball, and again, their special teams, we decided we didn't want to kick deep to them to set up any possible return. We were going to squib it, and each time we squibbed it, they just fell on it, which makes our job a lot easier. Plus, they're getting the ball, I think it was on the 26 and then the 28, and so, that's good. That's really good. And they get the ball, and they drive right down the field. And I don't know if there was a natural let-up that we thought, we're up 10-0, we're able to drive the ball easily. We shut them down twice, and there was a natural let-up or what. But all of a sudden, they're driving down the field and scoring, and it's 10-7.
Yeah, the Ramirez kid, he's huge. I was looking at all the stats. He has 2/3 of their offense, and it showed last night.
Yeah, we knew going in the game he's a good player. I mean, whether it's throwing or running, especially running, you saw late in the game, if we didn't tackle legs, he was breaking the tackles. He was going on and getting big yardage for him. So we knew about him, and of course, he's the one that scored the first touchdown, and it's like, come on, guys, we got to keep our focus on the prize here. So, they score, and it makes it 10-7. And on our fourth drive, again, we're moving the ball down the field with ease, and we fumble. We fumble on the 30. Luckily, we were able to, stem the tide a little bit, but they were able to pick it up and run it to the 48. So they got the ball at midfield, and they drive it right down, and we were able to hold, not give up the touchdown, but they did get a field goal out of it, and it's 10-10. So those two missed opportunities, and really that's a third missed opportunity out of every drive. So, halftime we're going in going, you know what? We're moving the ball all over the place. There's no adjustments that need to be made on offense. We just got to finish off these drives. And there's three missed opportunities or three drives that we should have come away with points, probably touchdowns, and we did not. And so, that hurt a little bit. And then so they kick off to us, and lo and behold, we're able to drive the ball right down the field again. And we get all the way down to the 2, but, with the clock situation and it being fourth down, I opted to let the last seconds run down so they wouldn't have an opportunity on offense and kick a field goal there at the end, which we knocked through. Again, second field goal of the season, put us up at halftime 13-10, and we're feeling good about the way the game is going, except for, a couple drives.
Yeah, it's always great to go into halftime with a lead, especially knowing you're going to get back in that second half. So
yeah, we're getting the ball right away.
I'm sure, there's always some adjustments, some talking that happens at halftime, but you got to feel good going into that halftime for sure.
Yeah, offensively, not a lot of changes, just execute better and finish off drives. Defensively, there were a couple adjustments we needed to make at halftime due to those two drives. But honestly, we just need to get back to what we were doing the first couple drives. And we had some guys out of place, some guys not securing the tackle. And so we talked about that with those guys and felt pretty good coming into the second half.
And speaking of halftime, before Coach got the opportunity to actually go to the locker room, we decided here in the broadcast world to try something new with student Zach Bowen and get a little sideline interview. So usually we see the backside of you and your top of your head, but we made you turn a little bit to the camera. So real quick before we go to break here, tell us about that experience with Zach last night.
Well, that's a great thing that you're doing. You're giving all kinds of experiences to kids and give them a chance to kind of almost simulate what happens in the college football world and the NFL and things like that. So pretty cool thing. First time it's a little hectic. We had a lot of things going on at halftime last night, but it was really neat. And, Zach did a great job, and hopefully it came across and the fans like it. And we'll continue to work at it and give that kind of feedback there.
All right, Coach. Well, that's the first half of last night's contest with Plymouth. When we come back, we'll talk the second half. This is the Coach's Corner Football Show on 93.7 FM The Mix. Welcome back to the Coach's Corner Football Show with head coach Jon Reutebuch. My name is Jeremy Van Loo, and Riley Price is joining us as well. So we talked about the first half with Plymouth last night, and you went into the locker room with a lead, and now it's the second half. So, gentlemen, let's talk more football.
Scores 13-10 going to halftime, have the lead, get the ball back in the second half. What kind of adjustments and discussion points did you have in the halftime to the team to be able to come out?
Really, offensively, just execute better, finish off drives. In that first half, we had an opportunity to score in every single drive, and fumbling the ball, some penalties cost us scoring opportunities. There wasn't really a whole lot we had to talk about offensively except the mindset of finishing off drives. We had 13 points. We scored on 3 of those drives out of 5, which is a good percentage. But, again, there's opportunities out there. We could have very easily been able to score on all 5. And I know that doesn't always go that way, but, we're looking at it at halftime offensively. We're able to run the ball. We're able to move the ball down the field. We just got to make sure we don't turn it over and have silly penalties that cost us those opportunities. Defensively, the first couple drives we played very well. We got a fumble, forced a couple turnovers on downs on 4th down, and then inexplicably we let them march right down the field and score. And I think that's more of a mindset than a scheme thing. We had some guys a little bit out of place. Not doing their 111, as we like to call it, your job, not reading your keys, and these are things that the kids know. We've ranted on that all season long and summer long, and so just got to get back to that. So we gave up a drive and a score to close it to 10-7, and then that last drive. They drove it right down the field. They had a big screen play, I believe, that helped get a lot of that yardage. But we bowed our neck, and we stopped them for a field goal, and so that was huge. So defensively, we showed the ability to stop them, and we talked about a couple things alignment-wise and where you're supposed to go gap-wise, and felt like we had a pretty good plan coming in the second half. There was a lot of things going on at halftime. It's extended halftime, and the band was finishing up their performance, and that delayed things just a little bit. And but once we got underway, we get the ball first, and again we drive it right down. But again, we shoot ourselves in the foot. We fumble a snap, and we recovered it, luckily, but we ended up turning the ball over on downs, and we got all the way down to plus 32. So we're in their territory, and we're threatening again, and missed an opportunity again.
Yeah, the first drive, it was a quick few plays, punted away, and Plymouth has a fumbled punt, and thankfully the Warriors are able to jump on it, get the ball, and keep it driving right down the field.
Huge play. I mean, that's an impact play, and that's something we want to do every game, is have some kind of impact play that helps our offense or defense, and so that was huge. And we get the ball in great field position, and again, we're not able to convert out of that, and they get the ball and drive it all the way down to the 13-yard line and turn it over on downs. What a huge stop for our defense.
Massive stop.
Massive. And so that's the point right there where we get a big stop. We need to take it down and just close the door right there with a score. And, again, we're driving the ball down the field pretty easily, and we fumble at the 20-yard line. Big run, and guy comes from behind and, just didn't secure the ball well enough and took it right away. And so all that momentum, big stop and driving the ball down to the 20-yard line, and then we fumble. And then they turn around and make that into points. They drive it right down and score a touchdown to go up 17-13. And, again, it speaks to our kids' mentality this year. They didn't stop. They didn't quit. They didn't hang their heads. The very next drive, we drive right down the field on them, and we're able to score a touchdown, but we yank the extra point. And we can't do that. Our goal on special teams is to be 100% PAT. The protection was there. The hold was there. The kicker just over-rotated his hips, which happens. But the score at that point is 19-17. And, with a field goal, they're going to take the lead. And so that's something we're a little bit worried about. But that didn't come into play. They were actually able to drive down the field again and score. Something else that was going on during the game was we were battling some injuries. Ethan Rodriguez by that time had gone down, and he rotates in on defense, and obviously one of our offensive guards. Brandon Kelly was dealing with a knee issue all night long. Barrett Kelly was on that fumble, dealing with an elbow issue. So we had some things that we were battling through and rotating guys through that most people don't see or observe during the game. That played a little bit of a part in it. But even at that point, we're like, hey, we still got plenty of time to drive down the field, and we did that. We drove down the field and got all the way down to the 5, and that's when the mess started happening.
Yeah, you mentioned some of the injuries, and I hope this wasn't a part of the discussion, but I saw that Tinky went in the backfield there. We've talked a lot about being able to get the ball to the playmakers for this team, Tinky obviously being one of them, but I've never really seen him be in the backfield much outside of a motion in. So go into what that decision was like and being able to put him back there.
We talked about that in this summer. We talked about, he's such a great athlete. We don't want to limit him to one spot on the field, and you'll see that with a lot of teams when they have a playmaker, they like to move him around, so defenses just can't center in on that. And you might have noticed at the end of the game, they were double-teaming him when he was split out. And so, if we put him in the backfield, that's something different. So we talked about that this summer. We played around with it a little bit. We've been doing it in practice a little bit. And so that was a opportunity there for him. And like I said, both Kelly boys were banged up. Barrett couldn't grip the ball properly with his left arm, and Brandon had a knee issue. And we decided that we were going to try to keep him on defense because he was so valuable there and not risk it. And so Peyton Sewell stepped in a few times as a running back, and then Tinky, of course, stepped in and really lit it up.
At this level of play, Coach, is it kind of the norm to diversify and get these kids to be a little more well-rounded on the both sides of the ball, so that who knows where that might take them later on down the road?
It depends on the team. Some teams have enough guys that they can two platoon, and a guy just plays on one side of the ball, and they got that much talent to spread around, or that many kids to spread around. We're not quite that large that we have that many kids, and so sometimes out of necessity, we have to move kids around, and they have to learn two positions, know what's going on, and we got kids that understand that and do the work. And Peyton Sewell, when Tinky was in the backfield, he was a wing, and when he was in the backfield, Tinky was the wing, and so we have some guys that diversify. There's some schools like Northwood has done that before, where guys play different positions all around. That's more out of a necessity and backups, because you always got to be prepared. You never know, and you want to still be effective. So I don't know if that's a norm. Ideally, you'd like a kid just working in one position all season long and getting really good at that and experiencing that. But again, you want to take the advantage of the guys that you have and what they can do and what their skill set is. And Tinky running the ball is not a bad thing. And so as we saw, he lit it up.
Yeah, it was in the moment, it was an interesting decision in my mind because, he's an outside guy. He's a fast guy. We all know how fast he is. I didn't know how he'd be on the inside, but honestly, he looked natural back there. He looked poised and ready to go.
He has great eyes, and you got to have great eyes as a runner. I mean, that's one of your most valuable tools. So he sees blocks, he reads blocks, and he reads where the opening is. And we knew in practice he had no trouble running inside or outside. Naturally, when you got speed, you always want to break it to the outside where you can take advantage of that. But he did a great job of picking his holes and hitting the hole hard, and we didn't miss a beat with him in the backfield.
So he's practiced this. He's been the running back at practice and learned those skills.
Absolutely, we would never try to just throw something in before we practice it, and we've been practicing it for the last couple of weeks, and we knew he was able to do that. So. We have toyed around with it in the past anyway, so that was not something that anybody blinked an eye at, and you saw the result. We were able to move the ball right down the field all the way down to the 5.
Yeah, so Plymouth is up at this point at that last touchdown that they had, 25-19 on us, and we get the ball back with about 5 minutes to go in the fourth quarter.
Plenty of time.
And we are driving down the field. There's a couple flags that help us out there, but driving down the field, and we get down to within, I think it was within the 5.
Yeah, we were down around the 5.
What is that moment like, and how are those plays called?
Well, we had a I want to say a 3rd and long, and they roughed the passer, which had been happening quite a bit all night long, and they finally caught him.
A few late hits on him all night.
Yeah. And then pass interference, an obvious pass interference that also got called, but you only get to take one. And, of course, we took the one that gave us the automatic first down, and so that kept the drive alive, as you mentioned. But, that's, again, never say quit, never say die. And, you can feel the crowd getting excited, and Plymouth, I'm sure, was getting tense because we were driving right down the field, eating up clock, and driving for the winning drive, and we're down on the 5, and we have a situation where, we're rolling out, and our receiver is on a out pattern. Probably should have hit Tinky early. He was wide open, but we hit Linder late. Now that we look back at film, he was shoved out of bounds, and he came back and established himself in bounds, completed the pass for what looked like the go-ahead touchdown, and after they conferenced a little bit, they said they did not see him get pushed, so that's an illegal touching. So it goes back to 3rd down with the penalty, which moves us back and makes it a little more difficult. We missed Bontrager over the middle, had him open, and we're just unable to convert after that, and that's the ball game. I mean, that's where they get the ball back deep in their territory, and again, never say die. We got 2 timeouts left, and they're going to be conservative because they want to eat that clock, and our defense plays pretty well, and they did a good job, and we had them 3rd and 2. And a minute 11 and 2 timeouts. Or I had a timeout in my hip pocket. As we called a timeout, they called a timeout. So talking to the boys, hey, this ain't over yet. And we stop them here. It's 4th down. We're getting the ball back.
It's right where you wanted to be in this situation.
Yes.
Good field position. You're able to get the defensive stop and still have time to be able to push it down the field with the timeout.
Absolutely. And so we come into that 3rd and 2 situation, and we're so hyped up to make the stop that we jump off sides. And so that's automatic first down with the 5 yards, and they're able to kneel on it, game over. And so, we're right there again, able to, play right up into the last play and just wasn't able to convert it. But that play is not the game. There's so many, as I have mentioned, missed opportunities throughout. We had a couple fumbles that we lost. Turnovers has been a bugaboo all season long. We've had penalties that have kept us from scoring. This team has more firepower than just scoring 19 points. And in the first 2 games, 12 points. We got to execute better, score when we have the opportunities, and take advantage of that. This is still an exciting team. This is still a team with a lot of weapons, and we just got to turn that corner, and then we're going to be pretty tough to beat. The defense did a pretty decent job. 173 yards passing. They gave up 224 yards rushing, and recovered a couple fumbles. So between the last game and this game, I believe it's 5 turnovers they've caused in the last 2 games, and so that's pretty good. Going into this game, our defense was averaging 17 points a game, which is really good. If you can hold a team under 20 points, that's pretty good. Plymouth had 25 points. Again, that gives you an opportunity to be in the game. Special teams-wise, felt like we executed pretty well. Offensively, we were able to go up and down the field, except for the important part, which is finishing drives. And so that's going to be our emphasis going into this next week is, stay the course. We just got to get better at finishing off drives and executing and making sure we don't put ourselves in bad position by turnovers or penalties.
At the end of the day, a learning experience and an exciting football game. All right, well, when we come back, we're going to talk to Scott Hetrick. Coach Hetrick is going to join us, and he's going to talk middle school football. And I do believe you have one of your players coming in as well, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right, so this is the Coach's Corner Football Show on 93.7 FM The Mix. Welcome back to the Coach's Corner Football Show on 93.7 FM The Mix. I'm Jeremy Van Loo alongside Riley Price and Coach Jon Reutebuch, and a very special guest right now. In fact, we're going to have 2 of them this segment. Coming up, we've got player Lucas Linder, who is a senior and a captain on the team. But right now, it's Coach Scott Hetrick of, the 8th grade football team, right?
Yeah, I help with both 7th and 8th grade down at the middle school, and they're actually doing pretty good so far this season.
Well, that's why you're in here, because I'm sure Coach wants to, promote it here just a little bit. So, Coach, what do you got for Hetrick?
Well, Scott, first of all, tell us a little bit about you, your background, how long you've been coaching, and how you even got into football, because most people know you as a basketball guy or a golf guy, and you've been all over the place, right?
You guys drafted me is what happened, I think. Or lost the coin flip. I'm not sure which one. But I've been with Wawasee now. This is my 8th year substitute teaching, filling in, long-term subbing, and met Coach Everingham the first year I was doing it. They were looking for a 7th grade basketball coach and started that. And then next thing I know, I was helping with our Junior Warrior program from kindergarten through high school, and an assistant and taking stats at games.
And you've also been heavily involved in the LYC program.
Do their golf camp. Another, I think I got drafted by Jessica Barger and the board as soon as they found out I could do little things. But I went to the University of Missouri, graduated with a sports marketing and management degree. My parents moved up here and were active in the community, and Mom started having some health issues, and I moved back to be around my parents, and I found you all.
Yeah, or we found you. I don't know which way it went, but glad to have you on board. Let's talk about the numbers in the middle school program. 7th and 8th grade, how many kids do we got playing approximately in both levels?
Approximately 50 in both grades, about 32 on the 8th grade team and like 19, 20 on the our 7th grade team.
Okay. The coaching staff, who's coaching at the 8th grade level and who's coaching at the 7th grade level?
Well, you gave me a lot of help this year. I got 3 doing 8th grade, Coach Burris, Coach Stutzman, who I think is in his 8th year helping y'all.
Yeah, he's been a while.
Burris is in his 2nd year, and Coach Brenneman, most people remember him from his playing days here and doing Pee Wee football, is helping up at that level. And then Coach Hoover is in his 2nd year, is kind of the head of the 7th grade.
Former player,
along with Coach Hare, who most would know from Pee Wee football as well. And then Coach Collins joined us this year. So I kind of oversee everything, take directive from you guys, and try and get us all on the right page.
Nathan Lambert, isn't he helping out too?
Oh, yes. I forgot
we
Nathan
can't
Lambert
forget our radio
because,
co-host.
Our radio co-host. He'll kill me. I got his T-shirt in my car, by the way.
Okay.
If he's listening.
It's been great this year. We have a full complement of coaches at the middle school level, and I'm sure you can attest that helps out with organization and coaching and everything else.
Definitely, and their past playing experience and coaching. Lambert, Hare, and Stutzman do a great job, both offensive, defensive lines, when we do our breakdown drills. Coach Burris and Coach Hoover both played defensive back and wide receiver and are teaching those kids properly. And then Brenneman, our running back, with Coach Collins doing running backs and linebackers.
Good.
And it makes mine kind of easy because I get to go around and check on them and try and motivate them and pick on them or give them encouragement, whatever I can do.
Yeah. So how many games you guys played so far, and what's the record at each level?
Well, 8th grade has played one more game because there was a combined game with West Noble, but they are 2-2. And then our 7th grade team is actually doing really well at 3-0.
3-0. And who have you played so far?
We started against Lakeview over there in Warsaw. We did a split with them. 8th grade lost, 7th grade won. And then we played Edgewood with a double win. And then we went and played Fairfield.
Edgewood's also Warsaw.
Yep. And then we played Fairfield with a double win. And then we just lost on Tuesday on a last-second drive.
With West Noble, when you said a combined game.
Combined game.
Can you explain that a little bit?
Well, they didn't have quite the numbers. So
to have two separate 7th and 8th grade team?
So we ended up with one team going over there, and we chose the 8th grade team to play. And it just came down to just a little bit last couple seconds. And I think I told you in the text, man, it was like 2 footballs is all they went over across the goal line to beat us by.
So there's 2 coaches in the studio now, high school and middle school level. I heard numbers, struggling with numbers, and I hear a lot more of that. So real quick, gentlemen, can you guys kind of discuss that, bring that up? Is things changing in the world of high school, middle school athletics? Not just here necessarily.
No, it's all
everywhere.
around. We just played Goshen last week, and Goshen's a school of over 2,000 students, and currently in their freshman through senior program, I think they had 51 kids. That's low, and they're not the only ones dealing with that. We've not had the numbers that we want at our high school level. They've been getting better, and it starts from the bottom up. Our Pee Wee program has grown immensely. We'll have Eric Leffler on in a couple weeks to talk about the Pee Wee program. By the way, a little plug here. This is the grand opening of the new field, Pelletier Field, over at behind Kearns Crossing at the new field, and so that's the grand opening today. The numbers are up there, and then the middle school level, the numbers have improved, although the 7th grade group, although talented, not a lot of guys, but that's been improving too. And so it has to start from the ground up and keeping kids involved. There's so many things out there.
Distractions.
Some kids decide to focus on just one sport. Some decide not to do it. And so that's constantly a thing that we got to work toward, is getting kids out and keeping them out. If you have a kid for 4 years playing high school football, they got a pretty good chance of being pretty decent their senior year and us being very successful.
So, Scott, any final words with you and Coach here on the middle school program?
I think you see a lot of talent. Like I said, this is my 3rd year doing it, and if I start thinking back on all the classes that I've helped coach, I think if you watch them and they continue to just improve and listen to the coaches, I think you'll see something special here in the next few years.
And it's an exciting time for our middle school program because now the 7th and 8th grade are all together in one building, which helps recruitment and getting kids out. You know, we have football coaches in the building, and so that's going to help. Somewhere down the line, we're going to get lights on that field so they can play back-to-back games. That's going to help. And we are entering into, I believe it's next year, a new conference. We've been without a conference the last couple of years, and Mr. Caudill and Mr. Berkey-Pyle have done a great job of scrapping together a schedule that gives these kids the experience they need to develop, and that's what it's all about: development, experience, learning technique and fundamentals, and wanting to play, continue to play. And they've done a great job, and we're now in the Big 11. So basically for the general public, that is all our conference schools except for Plymouth and Warsaw, and then Elkhart schools and Mishawaka schools, Mishawaka Penn, Mishawaka. It is a really strong conference, and it's going to help our competitive level and solidify a really solid schedule.
And that's not just for football. That's going to be for all athletics at the middle school level.
Yep, that's across the line. Yep.
All right. Well, Coach Scott Hetrick, thank you for coming in. You are no stranger to our world anyways, and I know especially in basketball we appreciate are you still going to be working in the world of basketball?
Yes, I'm back in basketball, and they got me at least slated to be the middle school golf coach again.
There you go.
Yeah, I think I could do golf coach. I mean, that's about the bare
Hey,
minimum.
come on out. I always take people that
I think you just
can play the
volunteered.
game. Yep.
Mulligan. Okay. All right. Well, Scott Hetrick, again, thank you for talking to us today, and good luck with the rest of your season. And now we're going to bring in another special guy, and it's one of Coach Reutebuch's seniors and captains on the team, Mr. Lucas Linder. Lucas Linder, how you doing, man?
I've been better. Last night it's definitely a tough loss. It's something that we thought we were going in. We thought we had a good game plan, and we did, and it just execution didn't come together, and it resulted in a loss.
Well, Coach is going to talk to you here in just a second, but you're a senior now and captain of the team. So that responsibility, being one of the captains on the team, how does that work on a day-to-day basis in the world of football?
It's definitely it's a responsibility that Tinky and Kunish and I have. We're proud, and I wouldn't say surprised, but I didn't see it coming. I'm not generally the loud guy. I tend to lead by example. I'm not going to say it to you. I'm just going to show it to you, and I can't. If you don't have the motivation to do it, that's not really much, even as a captain, that I can do to give that to you.
I like that because that's kind of how I am in the classroom too here. So that's awesome, Coach.
I actually have seen Lucas be a little bit more vocal, at least as far as helping guys, telling them what they need to do. And so this is a guy that, correct me if I'm wrong, never played football until your freshman year.
That's right.
Let's talk about that first. What got you into football?
So it was, I would say my soccer experience throughout, I was basically started when I was 5. My dad was a soccer player. He got me into it, but then it plays it all the way till 8th grade. And I would say it was just, I thought it would be fun. Trey Rollins, he was someone that definitely was there to help me convince it. And Tinky was there too. And it was something that I thought I would enjoy it. I wanted the change, and it worked out.
So you had a couple friends talk you into it.
Yes.
Thank goodness they did, because he has progressed every year to be the senior leader that he is, and also to be a heck of a football player on the field. This year you've added to your repertoire of things to do. You're now playing on the offensive side of the ball.
Yes.
Talk about what that's been like for you this year.
It's definitely been an interesting experience because I've never really been a full-time starter. I'd never played football until my freshman year, so I never really had the hands, but I finally started developing that over last year, and then into this year it's been enough where I could get time on offense, and then with the injury to Pike, that put me into the starting role.
Yeah. We got to step in, and you have stepped up and made some important catches, some amazing catches where, heavy traffic, guys hitting you as you're trying to catch the football. And we won't talk about what happened on that very last play where we didn't quite get the call that we probably should have. But Lucas has developed as an all-around leader, like he said, by example. on both sides of the ball, and you're on a lot of special teams too, so you have to contribute all over the place. And I swear this guy never sweats. He is never out of breath. He's never sweating, and he is a guy that we know we can put on their best receiver, and he's going to blanket him all over the field. Lucas, let's talk a little bit about last night's game, and as your point of view, what went on. We briefly asked you about it, but kind of give us the mindset of the team and what happened and where we are right now.
Right now, it's just, I would say it's a lot of, to me, you don't know what to do right now. We expected to win the game. You expect to win every game, and you came in and you didn't win. It's something where you got to come back, watch film this morning. What happened? Why didn't we execute? What went wrong? What did we miss? What opportunities should we have gotten that we didn't? And you got to go back and look at film. If you don't learn from losses, you can't get better. Right.
And what's your role as that senior captain with the rest of the guys on the team?
You just got to keep everybody level-headed. It's, Donovan was really upset about that offsides penalty at the end of the game that ended up ending the game. But in the end, it's everybody made mistakes on the field last night, and no one person is responsible. And you got to keep level-headed, and you just got to go at it next week, because we got Concord, and that's not going to be an easy game.
No, it is not. We're gonna have our hands full, and every single NLC game is we have a heck of a schedule, and we play tough competition, and every week is an opportunity. And so, Lucas is a great kid, a great student. You're also a track athlete. Let's talk briefly about that. Let's talk about at least last season. Have you done track for 4 years, right?
Last year was my first full season.
Last year was your first full season.
I was injured my sophomore year.
But you went out for track your sophomore year. Did you run track your freshman year? No freshman track. What made you come out for track your sophomore year?
Tinky really kind of convinced me. I knew I was somewhat fast, and it was something where if I could get faster, that would help me for football. So I wanted to go out and try it. But hip injury did not do good things my sophomore year.
So if Tinky tells you to jump off of a roof, will you do that too?
No. Tinky's just a guy that I know he'll put in all the work, and if it's helping him, I know it can help me too.
He's he needs to be our recruiting director, because obviously he's made some good choices on getting some kids out. So you had some. You go out for the first time your sophomore year. You have a injury-laden season, not as productive as you would have hoped. What made you come back your junior year?
I knew it was something where I needed to continue to try and get better, and it was something where I knew Coach Pinion, we'd been doing off-season practices, and it was something where I could tell he was going to do something with us, so I wanted to go out and keep getting better.
So it's always been the emphasis, if you don't have a sport, we need you in track, and all our kids need speed improvement, and evidence this year with a lot of kids that ran track, they're faster, they're more efficient. So talk about, in general, how your season went as far as this past senior or junior season for track.
Overall, it went pretty good. Overall, it was just a lot of development throughout the season. I won all 4 of the races I was in West Noble, and then it was continuing that. I continued to, I was pretty good in the 100. I was pretty good in the 200, and you got the 4x1 and the 4x4, and I won the 200 at sectional, and then I got 3rd at regional, so I went to state for that, and we got to regional in the 4x1.
Wow, that's great stuff, and persistence pays, and so glad that you stuck with it. I know Coach Pinion's glad that you stuck with it, and your 4x1 team returns. Pike, Tinky, Bontrager, just a couple of the football guys, and then I know there's other guys, but looking for good things out of you guys in the spring in track, and we still got our football season to go, and a lot of great things to accomplish, and I'm glad you came in. Thanks.
Yep.
Lucas, real quick, what's your plans after high school?
My current plans are to go to college for engineering and to run track and field. I'm not sure where that's going to be yet, but that's my plan.
Well, if Nathan was sitting in this chair, you mentioned engineering, he would tell you to go to Purdue. Period. End of story.
Yeah. It's just something where I'm not the big school kid. I'm a quiet kid. The big school life isn't really what I'm looking for, so I'm looking to go somewhere smaller. And if I go somewhere smaller, more than likely, if I can continue developing in track, I might get scholarships for it.
There's a lot of good engineering schools here in Indiana that would love to have you, and who knows, maybe they want you to be a dual sport athlete where you get more money towards school.
Football and track.
Yeah, there you go.
Hey, well, Lucas Linder, senior and captain, one of the captains of the football team, thanks for coming and talking to us today. And, hey, you sound pretty good on radio. Should have taken my class, man. Get you to come in and do some voiceover work.
Yeah.
All right, well, when we come back, we're going to talk Friday nights, this coming Friday night's game against Concord at Concord. This is the Coach's Corner Football Show on 93.7 FM The Mix. Welcome back to the Coach's Corner Football Show on 93.7 FM The Mix. Football is still in the air, and next Friday, this coming Friday, I should say, the Warriors are traveling to Concord. So, gentlemen, let's talk Concord.
Concord, when I was in school, was always a powerhouse team. They had a few good athletes, and by looking at their stats here, it seems like they still have those athletes. They're running around the ball. We just had a short conversation here just before going on air, and you mentioned that Concord has a running back. He's also a junior, so not only do we have to defend him this year, you also got him next year as well. The defense has done really well so far of being able to stop most of the plays, but have these just small breakaways that go for 20-plus yards. With a guy like Thomas as their running back, how do you go and defend that and especially get those mental errors out of it?
Well, we got to do our job. We got to do our 111, and we got to trust the coaching and read our keys and then rally to the football. That has been a point of emphasis of rallying to the football. Don't assume somebody's going to make the tackle. Thomas is a track kid, very fast, and one of the leading rushers in the conference, maybe even the state. So he is definitely one of their main weapons and a guy that they like to ride. And so he's got to be a point of emphasis, but not to the point where we let other guys, because they have many capable guys of making plays if we overcompensate. They typically have a big line. I don't even know if we have film yet from them, but we're going to have to take a hard look at this year's version of Concord football and see what they offer up and what we need to do and how we need to go about it. But that is one person that we definitely know about. Our track kids know about him. They went head-to-head with him, not only in the regular season, but in the conference and in the sectional and the regional. So very good athlete. They got a couple guys that are track dudes that we know are very capable, and so we got to play well to compete. I mean, every game, every week. I know it's a broken record, but you play a tough schedule, and you got to rise up every week and play your hearts out to be competitive. And we've done that so far. Obviously, with not the results that we want. We've been in every game. The 2 games have come right down to the very, very end. We've had our opportunities, and to be honest with you, it's more execution than anything else. I think the kids understand and believe in our schemes on offense and defense. There's nothing glaring. Our kids' mentality is good. They're out there competing all the way to the end. It just hasn't quite materialized on the win-loss column right now, but I think anybody attending the games can tell that there's a difference about this team, and they're proving that they have the mental toughness, and they're going to go out and compete every night, and that's what we're trying to prove. And we're still going to plug away, and maybe we can shock somebody, and maybe that's Concord. Who knows?
At Track Stars, their stud, it seems like they've been listening to some of the things you've been saying, trying to get their athletes to go both ways.
Yeah, they've done a good job of doing that. Most football coaches are going to have their football guys, unless they're a baseball kid, out for track. Track is one of the greatest complements to football, and Coach Pinion is a heck of a track coach. We're lucky to have him, and we have him on the football staff, so that's even easier to convince some kids to run track. And we want to be a program that has our kids playing multiple sports. Competition makes you better. And we want our kids playing basketball. We want our kids wrestling. We want our kids running track. We want all those things to happen. And last year, a lot of kids bought into it, and it's noticeable. And hopefully we get more and more guys involved, and it will help out on the football side as well.
It seems like that might be getting a little easier when you got some pro recruiters coming through the school like Tinky getting Linder on not only track but football too.
Yeah. When you got one of the better athletes in your school and he's talking to you, that means a lot to a kid. And so, Tinky is definitely one of our better athletes. And when he goes up to a kid and said, "Hey, man, I think you should run track," or "Hey, man, I think you should play football," it carries a lot of weight. And so, yeah, we're happy to have him on the field, but also off the field, and that's why he's one of our captains.
This will be the first week in the last, I think, 2 weeks that there'll be a fully normal school schedule. 2 weeks ago we had the super hot day where there was a little bit of a mix-up with practices due to some health concerns, and then this past week, Labor Day. So just going back into that normal routine, how does that just make your life just a little bit easier, being able to not have to pull the kids back on that Monday afternoon of Labor Day when they didn't have school?
That's a very good point. And coaches are routine people, and our kids are routine people. And so things that throw us out of our routine have made it difficult the last couple of weeks. Throw in the fact that there's been a lot of sickness going through our school, and we've had key players missing. And so Tuesday we had both the Kelly boys were out. And so they missed Tuesday practice, which was not good for us.
Yeah, it's a big hit.
It's a big hit, and so we've had to battle through some things. So we're hoping a normal week and getting everybody at practice each day, and hopefully the sickness things are going to be kind of going away with the cooler weather. And we can get a full week of focused practice. And the only thing we're really looking at right now is where we are in the injury front. We've got a lot of guys banged up and had a lot of guys banged up. Braden Pikes had to sit out a couple games. We're getting him back this week.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah, so he's going to be working in. Hopefully he'll be ready for Concord, but we'll have to wait and see. We talked about Ethan Rodriguez. And then, we have some other guys that were a little banged up last night, and hopefully it's just bumps and bruises and working that out, and they'll be ready to go for this next Friday night. If not, somebody else is going to have to step up and plug in, and that's their opportunity.
Yeah, I think that's proven time and time again already this season. You mentioned Rodriguez coming in for an injury. Linder came in when Pike went out. I mean, Pike's good, don't get me wrong, but Linder is a great backup, especially being on that defense. There's no
letdown.
Yeah, there's absolutely no letdown when you have that next guy up mentality.
Yeah, and that plays all over the field. We mentioned earlier how Tinky slid into the backfield when both our running backs were a little banged up and did a great job. And Peyton Sewell, we have kids that know their role, know what we need them to do, and for them to pay attention and step into those roles and execute has been great for us. Unfortunately, we've been in the position we've had to have some kids step up because of injuries or whatever, and proud of our kids for doing that.
So Lucas came in as a freshman, never playing football before. How often do you see something like that? I mean, it's got to be rare, or is it not?
You would like to say so, but it's happened quite a bit in the last, since I've been head coach. I look back at Josh Slaybaugh. I look back at Adam Brown, guys that didn't come out to their senior year and made a big impact. Now, that's rare that they can make a big impact. Just their senior year.
That's impressive.
Great athletes. They were baseball players. They were basketball players. And their senior year, they came out and made a big impact. This year, we have Weston DeLong. Weston came out his freshman year and had some injuries and just didn't work out for him his freshman year. And some of the boys recruited him. If you don't know Weston, we've had him on the show earlier this year. He is about 6'7", and
he's
about
a big guy.
230, 235, and he's a starter on our offensive line. And so here's another kid that hadn't played, making an impact. And, our hope in the future is to have those guys for 4 years, because all three of those guys I just mentioned were impact players, but had they played 4 years, we're talking about some of the best players in the conference, and that's where we need to get to. For whatever reason, guys waited to their senior year. I don't know if it's a confidence thing. I don't know if it's a recruiting thing. I'm not really sure, but we got to do a better job one way or another of getting those kids out, our best athletes out, and playing for 4 years, and then we're going to turn this thing around.
Well, I think you mentioned that with Tinky and some of the other guys that are recruiting their fellow classmates. I mean, how cool is that?
Well, that's your best recruiter right there.
Yeah.
The kids, your players, and they know who is in their class, and they know who's a good athlete. And every year, our guys are going out trying to recruit kids. And we even had it in the lower level. Luke Kime recruited Braden Clay, who hadn't played, and they're friends, and they mess around and play catch and stuff like that. And he was working with him all off season, and he's new to our program. He's a sophomore, but our kids are our best recruiters. I mean, coaches can talk to you and try to talk to kids, but the kids, there's, like I said before, somebody like Tinky comes to you and says, "Hey, man, I think you should play," or Luke Kime comes to one of his classmates and say, "Hey, man, I think you'd be pretty good." It carries a lot of weight and helps those kids with their confidence and saying, "Hey, maybe there's something to this. I should give this a try."
Okay, well, so Concord it is this coming Friday. Anything else you want to mention about Concord?
Not about Concord necessarily. We got to delve into that a little bit more after we see film and see where we're at as far as injuries and where they're at. Concord started the season off 2-0. They beat Jimtown. They beat Elkhart. And then they ran into Northwood. Northwood got the better of them. And then last night they lost a tough game to Warsaw, 10-3. And so their defense did a very good job of stopping that flex bone to hold them to 10 points. And so, again, it's not going to be an easy game. They're a good football team, and we're going to have to come out and execute, which I'm confident we will. And we're playing at their place.
And Warrior Nation come out and support them. And I think we've seen some pretty good traveling Warrior Nation folk come to these away games.
Yeah, we've had some excellent crowds at these away games, and I don't think we've shorted people on the action. I think they've been fun, interesting, good games to watch, and obviously we're not where we are record-wise, but we're definitely out there putting out a good product and playing hard and competing all 4 quarters, and that's something that this team right now is establishing a legacy, and we want to continue to do. I do want to give a shout-out to our freshman team, who's 2-1 right now, and our JV team, who is going into Plymouth today 3-0. And so our younger programs that we talked about, the middle school, and we talked about freshmen and JV, so far so good. They're out there competing and winning games, and we're building it from the bottom up. And this year's team is setting the tone that teams that follow hopefully will build off of that and turn this thing around a little bit.
All right, Coach Jon Reutebuch, thank you very much for coming in and talking football with us. And excuse me, good luck on Friday night at Concord. Riley, thanks for filling in. Your buddy Nathan, my nephew, hey, we'll get him back here next week, hopefully, right?
Yeah, I'm excited to have him back.
Okay, well, hey, if you can't make it to Concord Friday night, we'll have all the action right here on 93.7 FM The Mix and online at 937themix.com. Nathan Lambert and Riley Price will have the call. This has been the Coach's Corner Football Show with Coach Jon Reutebuch on 93.7 FM The Mix and online at 937themix.com.